Okay, so I've been putting off filming this way too long. I think I've officially been in Vietnam for about 3.5 weeks, and I'm only filming this video now, so my bad. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm Ocean. I'm super disabled, and this is my first time solo traveling since becoming disabled. I have something called dysautonomia or POTS, and it means that I'm on a medication called fludrocortisone that needs to be refrigerated. That makes traveling a little more complicated. It was honestly one of the biggest hurdles, and so I am going to tell you how I did it in case you are in the same boat and need to travel with medication that needs to be refrigerated, and you are currently wondering how the heck you're going to do that, because let me tell you, it was a task. So I'm going to jump right in and show you the products that I used and how it all kind of worked. So the first product that I have here, that's big and bulky and it was a pain in the butt to carry around, but it does work really well, was the insulin cooler that I used. So I used the brand Frio family. I actually tried to buy a less expensive one originally that would have worked fine if I was just using the electronic part, but I wanted to use the gel as well, and the Frio family gel is substantially better than all of the knockoff ice pack gels. So I ended up having to convert. It was expensive. I think it was like 400-ish Canadian dollars. Don't quote me on that. It's been like 2 months since I bought it now. So basically with this, it's meant for insulin, and honestly, all of the products that I use for the most part are meant for insulin vials, not for pills, but we made it work. So it's got this container here. You can kind of see it's just this. So it works two different ways. You can either just use the canister, which basically looks like a thermos, with the gel pack that comes with it. And this is why I got this brand, because the gel pack that comes with this is different than a regular ice pack. It works substantially better and substantially longer. So it guarantees that your medication will stay between 2 degrees and 8 degrees Celsius for, I'm trying to remember how many hours it was, but it was like 25-ish hours, I think, was what I ended up when I tested it. I got with consistently without any worries, that it was always between exactly 2 and 8 degrees Celsius for 25 hours. So that gave me peace of mind. I was flying from Canada to Vietnam. My total trip was about 38 hours. I wanted a little bit of buffer time, so 40-ish when you add like transfers from airports to hotels and stuff like that. So this gave me my first 25 hours through my flights and through my layovers and stuff. So put it in the freezer for 6+ hours, and then you actually put it in some like tap water for, I think it was 2 or 3 minutes. It says it's got the instructions right on it, which is nice, which like stops it from accidentally freezing your medication. It like puts it in that perfect 2 to 8 degree window. You throw this like little sleeve on it, which just like, again, protects it from accidentally freezing your medication. This went in here, lid goes on, and then it's just 2 to 8 degrees for 25 hours. I tested it at home before I took it traveling with me. I used like literally a meat thermometer and would just stick it in to test the temperature of the air inside every couple of hours after about the 20-hour mark, just to make sure that it still was in that temperature zone. And it was. I consistently, up to that 25-hour mark, have no issues. It advertises, I think, a little bit longer than that. And I think depending on what the surrounding weather is, you might get longer than 25 hours. But I found that like 25 hours was my like total peace of mind. I know it for sure will last that long. So then what did I do after 25 hours if my total flight time was 38? At the 25-hour mark in the airport, I had all the things in my bag with me. So I switched. I took this lid off and this out and just threw those in my bag. And then we switched to this one. So this is an electronic device, I guess. The top regulates the temperature. So the medication goes in here. So this comes off. Medication goes in this little cylinder, which is the part that gets cooled by this top piece. Pops that back on. This goes in here. And then it comes with a cord, and they are really specific about using their cord, and that other cords might have issues and not work well. I didn't try any other cords, so I don't know if there would be an issue, but this one worked fine, which is the one that came with it. Pop that in. And then this gets connected to a power bank. It has to be connected to a power bank the whole time. So I had to buy power banks to go with it that were not cheap. So then I ended up spending like, I think an extra $200 on power banks. And then basically just the bigger the power bank you get, the more time it lasts. Most airlines have restrictions on lithium power banks. I think they have to be below 2,800 kilowatts or whatever the unit is that they measure the energy in it. So be mindful of that if you're going to do this route, that you're not buying like a 50,000 one because you might have issues in the airport. Same thing with airport regulations for the biogel. As long as it is frozen, so like you're not taking it entirely in liquid, you can take it through airport security. They will likely flag you. Just remind them that you are allowed to have it. As far as I'm aware, there's no countries in the world where it's an issue, as long as it's considered medically necessary. So like obviously I always bring notes from my doctor saying that I need the medication and that it must be refrigerated. I haven't had an issue. Anyway, this, once it's plugged in, I literally just carried it around in this thing with, this was the battery that I bought, and I bought 2 of them. This one is, let's see if it says on it. I think this was about a 25,000, but it's like a good quality one. And I bought 2 of these and they gave me about 10 hours each. So I knew that I wouldn't have any worries time-wise. The other thing to note is that a lot of the Asian airlines seem to have rules against using lithium battery packs on the plane. So that is something to be aware of. When I was researching it online, they have a ban on them in terms of like you can bring them with you, but you can't use them. I obviously was using this on the plane, but I don't even know if anyone noticed. I didn't have any issues, but that is something to be aware of, that like I did see that when I was researching online and it made me a little bit nervous, but I also realized that this was my only option to get my medication to Asia. So I kind of just risked it and I didn't have any problems. If you're curious about the battery I'm using, it's the, I'm not even gonna try and say it, INIU was the brand, and I literally bought it on Amazon and I had no issues with it. So yeah, okay, so that was airplane and getting it all here. And then of course I used to travel in hostels and I don't do that anymore, unfortunately. I get a hotel now. I pre-booked a hotel that had a mini fridge in it so that as soon as I got to the hotel I could put my meds in the fridge. And then the other piece of traveling with the meds is if I want to do day trips, go into a different city for the day or whatever it may be, and I don't want to have to worry about a fridge and it's just going to be like a 1 or 2 day trip, I found something called Frio bags. So I actually I brought 2 and I just used it for the first time the other day for a little overnight trip, and it seemed to work well and I had no issues. So the Frios, unlike this, won't keep your medication between 2 and 8 degrees. So if your medication has to stay between 2 and 8 degrees, these might not work for you. I'm lucky with my medication, I get 30 days as long as it's below room temperature before it expires. So because this trip is longer than 30 days, I needed to keep it below that 8-degree mark. Otherwise, it would expire before my trip was over. But if I'm just going to go do a day trip or 2, I can just put a few pills in a bottle separately and take those with me. And they just need to stay below 26 degrees, which is room temperature. Obviously, I'm in Asia, so it's hot and humid. And so just in the air in my bag, the pills would likely go above that. And so I still have to have some kind of cooling. So Frio bags work great for that because they'll keep it below room temperature. So they're good for just quick trips. So this one is, I believe, the Frio Mini. It has less. I'll show you the other one, which is like the proper Frio bag, but this one was like the mini and it was cheap, and this is my backup one. So it just comes with like a little insert, and this protects the pill bottle from getting wet inside the bag. And then this bag, it has like little crystals inside of it, and so you soak it in water and the crystals form into like a gel, and that gel is what keeps it cool. It lasts for, I believe, 45 hours minimum is what the branding says, but then you can always just reactivate it. So after the 45 hours, that's why I bought 2 bags. After the 45 hours, when this one starts getting too warm, I can pop the other one in a bowl of water. That one can get to the right temperature. I can switch my medication over, and then that one takes over. And then when that one starts to stop working, I can switch back to this one. It seems to work pretty well. They're not super convenient because they do take a few weeks to dry out after you use them. So you can keep continually using them. but once you want them to fully dry out to be able to pack away, they take a few weeks. So if you're not staying somewhere for a long amount of time, you have to travel with this bag that is like kind of damp. And that is unfortunate, but all things considered, having the freedom to be able to move around is a luxury when you take refrigerated meds. So we'll take what we can get. Okay, so this is the one I just used. So this is the actual Frio bag that's like all jelly. And I used this probably 3 or 4 days ago, and it's still quite damp. I've just had it sitting on the counter so it can dry out slowly. But yeah, it's not, as I say, damp. It's like cold and like damp-ish, but like it's not really leaving water residue on anything. So the proper Frio bags have 3 parts. So there's the actual mechanism that keeps it cool. There's the lining that goes inside of that, which just stops your medication from getting wet or like in direct contact with the water. And then there's this piece that goes on the outside. So everything goes inside of this. And this just kind of makes it a little bit more easy if you're going to throw it in your bag, that you're not risking other things in your bag getting wet. Kind of just is like a shield from the moisture. Something to note with them, they work through evaporation. So you can't put them in an airtight bag. Like you wouldn't want to put it in a Ziploc or somewhere where it's not going to have access to air, because the evaporation and the access to air is what makes them work and stay cool. So that is something to note. Like traveling with them isn't super convenient and easy, but it's the same thing with the insulin cooler, that it has to stay upright. So I couldn't just like throw it in my bag and go. The top can't be covered. It's got to stay upright. So I basically had to carry it with me separate. Not the most convenient thing in the world, but it is doable if you're really committed to traveling and you need to take your meds. It did the job. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff and want to know where to find it or how I managed to use it or anything like that, comment below. I'd love to help you guys out. I didn't have this information when I was trying to figure out how to travel, and that was really frustrating, and it took me months and months of research to find. I hope that just for the backpackers out there in general with disabilities, that this makes it a little bit easier.